creating cross sections. Limit line or a cross section going through the instance. Anyways, with all that said, let's start class. So I, up here, have two files, excuse me, parcels for surveyors, and again, alignment start, found in the materials section of the dashboard. I'm going to be starting in parcels for surveyors, and we're going to work with parcels a little bit and go into much more detail on parcels, just so that you can get a grasp on how this works. And then we'll hit alignments, and when we go into alignments, then we'll deal with surface profiling and cross sections. So let's get moving. Parcels. Parcels are stored in sites. Sites are found on your tool space. If your tool space is not open, once I find my mouse, it's on the third window, not in my first window. There it is. All right. Tool space found on the home tab of the ribbon. Tool space button on, tool space button off. Okay. And I've expanded sites down here because I took out some sites, but I want you to note that I already have two that were created by myself some time ago. I have a site for boundary and a site for drainage areas. When I make a parcel, I have to choose which of these two sites they go into. Okay. Now, as a civil designer, I will use drainage areas in both my existing file and in my proposed file. But as a surveyor, I will never do drainage areas. Just keep that in mind. Okay. On the other hand, I will do boundaries. And I will probably need other sites, which we will go ahead and make after we deal with the boundary part here. Okay. So we're going to start with, I went out, I had a survey done. I got the points in from my field crew. I did all these awesome points, and I found the iron rods, right? The set iron rods, the IPs, the benchmarks, whatever has created that boundary of your, whatever is out there in the field that creates your boundary, whether it's curves or whatnot. So, and I went through and I spent some time, and I either connected the dots with a polyline. Well, guess what that is? That's a polyline. Let me go back that. So when I right click and it says polyline, hey, that's obvious. If I go into parcels, there you go. It's my three-dimensional polyline. I can flatten this, by the way. A 3D line can be flattened with convert 3D polys. That's the handwritten word for it. I don't know what button it is. Convert 3D polys. You select your polyline, and yes, I do suggest doing this. Hitting enter, and it converts it. Now, why do I do that? That way I can get it all one elevation. I can come back and check out my properties, good old-fashioned change properties box, the overall, and set my elevation to 0. Okay. I want it at 0. If I'm elevated in any way, shape, or form, sometimes that throws off parcels, because parcels will take this polyline and convert it into a feature line, which is also a parcel line, which will drive you nuts. But that's fine. That's what we need to know. Anyway, so when I got this polyline out here, believe it or not, this comes from an existing topo file. There was an iron pin over in this corner, one here. It was real basic, right? Rectangular, one in the corner, one here. Sometimes you get curves in here, and you'll have to come back with parcels and add that curve line in, and that's where you would do it by hand. But if it's just real simple, basic, it's obvious from the written plat that I got a straight line work, I can get away with connecting the dots with a polyline. Okay, so 2 ways to make a parcel. The first way, got my pins, I did the corner trace with my polylines, I got an awesome looking rectangular box. It may or may not be closed. In order to make a parcel work, they do have to be closed, okay? If it's not closed, a parcel will not form. So I got my awesome polyline. I'm going to go up. I have 5 different ways to get to parcels. On the ribbon, it's on the Home tab, Create Design Panel, and Parcel. Parcel Creation Tools, create parcels from objects and create right away. If you have the menu pull down up here, it's under the Parcels pull down. Same tools, create by layout, create from objects, create from right away. So if you don't have that, though, back on the ribbon, again, under the Create Design Panel, under Parcel dropdown, grab Create Parcel from Objects. And on my command line, it's going to say select the line, arcs, polylines, or convert into parcels, or XREF. So if I had an XREF in here with that polyline, I could click XREF first and then go select the line work from the XREF, and it would make it from that. It won't delete it from the XREF. It will just make it like a copy, like using, what's the command? Ncopy, which is copying line work from an XREF live into the file it is referenced into. That's what Ncopy does. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and select my closed polyline, sees it, says 1 found. Awesome. I'm going to hit enter, and I get a handy-dandy toolbox, or handy-dandy dialog. Okay, create parcels from objects. Come on. Number 1, I need Parcels have to be put into a site. So I mentioned earlier we have two sites. We're going to use the boundary site. I got to give my parcel an overall look. What does the entire parcel represent? Is it the road? Is it open space, like a little park or something? Is it individual lots? Is it an easement? In this case, it's a property. Now, I'm taking this as an example. We're going to go from the mindset that I am making an existing plat. I'm recreating the paper plat. I've got the survey points in, and now I'm just going to create the existing plat. I'm not doing the proposed stuff yet. That's coming up, starting with the existing plat. Property. So a parcel makes an object, like a block, and that object has to go on a parcel layer. The line work, the lines and arcs within the parcel are called segments, and those can go on a completely different layer if you so choose. I really hesitate to say put them on different layers. I have done that before, and it becomes kind of confusing because on top of that you have the style, which can have that line work, those lines and arcs put on even a different layer, which makes it 3 levels deep. And that's what's really confusing. So to keep things simple, you put your parcel segment layers on the same layer object as the object layer for say, okay, 3D parcel and 3D parcel. Keep it simple, right? It's the KISS method, yeah. When you make a parcel, you can automatically label. If I select automatically label, everything turns on. It's going to give me an overall area label. What type of area label do I want? I'm going to choose name, square foot, and acres. Parcel will get a name. That name will show up, and it'll be whatever name, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and the overall area and square footage. Now the line segments, this is a parcel, and I want to make sure that I represent this in 2 ways. And notice I have 2 options here. I have a general line. That's for when I draw a polyline, and I just want to label a polyline, or a parcel line. Because we're creating a parcel line, it will pull specifically from here, no matter what. So we're going to do preliminary boundary, okay? Curve segment label, same thing. If I had a curve, which we don't, but if we did, we're going to go ahead and set it. I'm going to set it to delta over length and radius. Now, I have other ones in here. Feel free to steal these and put these into your own file. These are really handy. This is just the simple length dimension only. There's no bearing on here. This is a tag version like C1, C2, that type of thing. This simply says BSBL for building setback line. Dimension, curve dimension, so the radius only is on that. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to choose delta over length and radius. Now I can choose at this time to erase the existing entity. And when I do that, it will erase this polyline. If I had chosen line work from an XREF, it's not going to erase that. But if it's live in the file, it will. I will go ahead and erase it, leave it selected, and hit OK. Poof, I have an instant parcel. How do I know it's an instant parcel? Awesome green label in the middle. If I select it, it lights up the entire thing. Note it's on 3D parcel. It's called a parcel. It's on the property. It has a name, square foot, and acreage. It's parcel number 1. If I zoom in with my mouse, it's property 1. How do we know how this handles it? So this area label, that's what this is right here in my properties box. I'm running with the properties so it kind of makes a little bit more sense to you. When I grab the pull down, I can go to create and edit. When I do that, it brings up the label style selector box, parcel area label style dialog box. I'm going to leave name square foot since that's what this is, set, and over here on this far button, the middle button, I'm going to press the down arrow. I want to edit the current selection. So we're going to edit the label style to understand it a little bit better. First of all, in the information tab, that's the name that we see over here. What's the label name? On the general tab, this is putting that label on the CProp text layer. So whatever color CProp text is in my layer manager is what I'm going to see on this label. But note it's 2 different colors, green and yellow. Okay, so we have a green label, and so it's actually a dual layer label, which is really interesting. But that's the label it's on. It's orientated to the view. Every time my view rotates, this label will stay 90 degrees, just like this to my view. If the view was, north to the right, this label would rotate, and it would stay just like this. It would never change in the view. If I were to change this to object and hit apply, and then I hit OK back here, I'm just going to do this. Don't do it yourself. Hit OK, and I'm going to twist my model just to show you how this works. I'm going to give it a twist of -45. That's object. It remained with the object, okay? I go back into that layer label, and go back in and edit it and change it to view and hit OK and OK. View. Got it? So view means 90 degrees like you would read it in a book. Object means it rotates with the object. So how do you fix that? It's very important because when you XREF this file into another file and you start twisting it, just like I did here with the DView twist, that will happen. People will get so frustrated because the labels won't read like this, and they'll be at an angle because you twisted it so it's straight 90, right? And the labels are kinked at a 45 now, and they're not showing 90, and then your boss gets it and he goes, those should all be 90. Well, that's why, because in that label style for that parcel area label, it is set to view and not object. So it should be on view to make it 90, okay? Those are your options. So let's take another good look at this label here while we're in it. In the Layout tab, the layer labels made by components. There are two components, the name component and the area component. Note my name is green, but my area is hard-coded to yellow right here. So when I switch to the area component down under the text section, there is a color. You can hard-code it. No matter what color I change that C-prop-text layer in my layer manager, these down here, the square footage and the acreage will always be yellow. If I don't want that to happen, I click on yellow, click on the color chooser and set it back to by layer, hit by layer, and I hit apply and OK and hit OK, and now they're green. So obviously my layer C-prop-text is green. Okay, so just some key informational. Now this is true with all labels, whether it's this line label down here for the parcel segment or this property label, okay? All right, I'm going to untwist myself here. Hey, get out of that. Twist, 0. There, okay. Let's get back to where we were. So quick thing. Now, that was the area label. I also had line labels, okay? Same thing here. You have a line label and a curve label, easily interchanged by simply selecting the label, going into your properties, and changing them, okay? It will give you the options, what type of labels could be put on this parcel line. Either a general line label or a parcel line label can be put on this parcel line, okay? So let's talk a bit more. So now we have this parcel segment. So the segment is the line work. If I right-click on the segment, I can only move to site or copy to site. We're not going to do either. We could look at its elevation because it is a feature line. If I look at elevation editor, it's set to 0. Because it is a feature line. And when I select any one of these segments, I get the parcel segment ribbon up here, and I get the same tools that you get as a feature line. So you can add elevations to these, and you can put them into a surface. You could use them as surface line work as well, not just your boundary line work. So Heidi, you said, you know, when you select here, I've got, okay, interesting. When I select a line, all I know is it's the site boundary, and it's a segment. And it's on that line is on that 3D parcel layer. But when I select the name, the area label for that specific parcel, not only do I get the area label style, I get the name, which I can change, okay? I get the parcel perimeter and distance, it's parcel number 1, and I get the style. That's how you end up changing the style. So the style is important. Right now we're looking at property. If I select this and change it to easements, it changes to yellow. If I go to open space, it has a hatch applied into it. Nice. If I go to lots, it's white. If I go to lot, individual lot, it's cyan. Okay, if I go to road, it's yellow. I'm going to go back to property, but I think you get the point. You can swap between the look of everything. So let's ask the next question. These are all blue lines. Let's talk about the style itself. When I'm in property, I'll just go ahead and go back down to create and edit. I'm going to get the same similar box I just saw. Instead, this is the object box. I'm going to go over to the right, to the drop down in the middle and select edit current selection. And again, on the information tab, we know it's called a property style. We can, that hatch you saw, that is part of this pattern fill. You can put a restriction. It doesn't have to fill the entire thing. If you turn on observe distance, it'll only go like whatever distance this is, 5 feet away from the line work into the interior of the parcel, not the exterior, the interior. There is a name template, which is the style and the number. So if this was the lot style, instead of open space, this would say open space 1. That's the naming template. And that's in that label style. It's grabbing from this naming template. Okay, I'm going to turn that off. In a section view, how it looks in a cross section or in a profile type view, how do you want that parcel to appear? You can select a marker style. Maybe you want paving markers or PI point. There's a couple different options there. That's specifically in section view if this is crossing through a section line. And then we have display. So display, we have three different options, plan, model, and section, how we want it to look. Note I have it on the C-prop-boundary layer, which is what layer by layer, and the layer is 150 actually for the color. It's picking up that layer specific. It is not picking up 3D-parcel information whatsoever, just the object itself of the segments and the area fill. That entire object is on that 3D-parcel layer. These are the controlling layers in here. If I want to change the color of parcel or change the layer, I simply select on the layer and choose a new layer from the layer selection box. Maybe I wanted it lot lines. If I choose lot lines, I hit apply, hit OK, hit OK. Now I got lot lines, okay? If I go back into that, down to the bottom, create and edit, over here to the pull down, make sure I grab edit, and it brings me right back. If I want to change it back, I select the layer name and go back down to C-property-boundary. Maybe I need it to be property lots, but right now we're doing boundary because we're working in a boundary file. Hit OK. And same is true for section. It's going to put it on boundary and it's by block, so it'll show up white. If I clear that, hit by layer, it'll show up as blue, the actual layer in the model. Models, when you twist it into a three-dimensional view using Object Viewer, or you come up here and you use the compass, and how it will appear in the model. Since these are three-dimensional, they will be above, they'll be up there with the surface if they have an elevation. If they're set to 0 like this one is, they'll be flat work. They'll be down flat. So, but they can be three-dimensional. Okay, I'll hit OK, and I'll hit OK. Back to blue. All right, so my controlling color then, if I go in my Home tab, I go to my Layer Properties dialog, and I drag this over, and I scroll down to C prop, and where's that? Not bearing, boundary. There's my color. If I change this to 3 for green, and I changed, because it was on a by layer for the line type, I changed this to Phantom 2. I hope this works. Depends on my scale. I'm at an 80 scale. Helps if I'm not in an 80 scale. Let's go to like a 20. Well, maybe not. No, it's there. If I zoom in close enough, okay, go back to 40. It's hard to see until you really zoom in, but you can see that the Phantom 2 is being applied here on the boundary line, where it's hard to see when you scroll out because, you know, it's so big. So the idea is it's layer manager controlled at this point, which means when I XREF this into another file, as an existing file, I can control how that layer looks. I can control, does this now bold in my proposed file, or is it screened back? Is it supposed to be Phantom 2 or hidden? What line type should it be? I can now control that in my XREF because of that. And then when it comes to this layer, this label right here, if I don't want to see that label, we saw it was on, what was that called? C property text. So I'm going to find a good spot for this. Yeah, I need to shrink this down a little bit. Hold on. Get the dual arrows going. There we go. And if I want to turn the property text off, turn it back on. Now, that's just the area label. That is not these side labels. These little line labels are on the base layer C annotation text site at this moment. Well, why are they on that? Well, let me check something. I'm going to go to settings on my tool space. Scroll to the very, very tip top, get my bold parcel for surveyors, right click that title name of the drawing and select edit drawing settings. Let's take a look at the object layers tab. When I created this parcel, it went to this is the first place it went. And it said, what am I putting the object on? And what layer do I put the line labels on? And that's where this is like the initial starting of everything, okay? You can change these up, but only before you do something. Once you've done something, the next time you do it, it will still look back here, but it won't, like if I change it now and then I try to apply a new parcel label, all the old stuff will remain on the old stuff. It won't just automatically update the old. It only applies to the new next item down the list. So I'm going to scroll down. That's where it was getting my base object from. That's where the object had to go. So it wants me to put parcel labeling on C annotation, but that's this parcel label, the overall parcel label, but it's really not going there, was it? Sorry, go back. The segments, again, we were putting them on 3D parcel. And lastly, the labels are to go on the C-annotation-text side. Now, I do that for a reason because I separate out, I might have multiple tabs in one file. And so in order for certain things to appear in a viewport and turn them off in other viewports and other tabs, I have to have it on its own unique layer. So that's why I do that. Not everybody will do that. So all labeling that's done on C-annotation-text site, when I go into, say, a grading sheet, which might be in the same file as my site sheet because it's a tab, when I go into my grading viewport and I freeze that layer, all the labels that are on that object layer, regardless of how those labels are set up, will turn off. But they'll still appear in the other layer, in the other sheets, viewports. But that's why when I select a line label, it's on C-annotation-text site. So, but it's white. This is red. So what layer is it really on inside? So this is the base layer, right? So where the object is at. Let's take a look at the label itself. I'll select the pull down in the properties, go into create and edit. Again, in the parcel line label, I'll go down to the middle pull down, grab edit current selection, and take a look at my general tab, and it says it's on C-boundary text. Oh, how annoying. 2 different layers. I can fix that. Let's go with the grab the layer, grab the more button. In the layer selection, go up and hit 0. 0 will mean that this layer right here is the only layer it sees. I'll grab 0. I hit OK, and now they're all red. Okay, so now you got layer manager controlled. One more thing to note when I'm in there, I'm going to grab a label again, parcel boundary, down to create and edit, go back into the edit. Usually when you select it once, it's always at the top. Go back in here. Text style. You guys don't always use technique. You might use something else. Grab the more button. Every text style that you might use is in here, including L100, which is a lot of surveyors use L100. I'll go OK. I'll go OK. And now we're L100. Okay. So quickly, that was the boundary. So this is my existing file. At this point, I would save this file as existing whatever, and then I would save it as proposed. I'd have a separate file. So I'm now done for, say, with my existing parcel. Now we need to talk about laying out parcels for that preliminary plat. Okay, so the preliminary plat, we will start with this boundary. But when I do my preliminary plat, I don't want this boundary changing. I need that as whatever it is. And usually you'd have these in 2 different files. I've seen a lot of surveyors, though, do it all in one file. You can do it all in one file. Well, how do you do it all in one file? First thing you do is you go to Sites on the tool space, right-click Sites, and select New. We need a new site. We can call it A. We can call it B. We can call it New Lots. I don't care what you call it. Every time you make a site, the parcels will be independent from that are in that site from the other sites. So when you're making blocks, for like block A, block B, block C, you want to make a site for every block. Let's go with A right now. Keep it simple and short. Here's my parcel A. So I can copy this or I can move it. I can select the parcel, I can right-click on the parcel, and I can say copy to site. In my copy to site, this is the original. I needed to go to A, and I'll hit OK. Now it's in A. If I look at boundary, there is a parcel 1. If I look in A, there is a parcel 1. Awesome. Now, the next parcels I do from here are going to strictly and only be in A because they are going to be our proposed preliminary plat parcels. Okay? All right. So now we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty. We've got our boundary, but now we need to get the road. So I got this road in here some time ago. This was done by an alignment in another file, and then I offset it 30 feet. For a 60-foot wide right-of-way. That's what this yellow represents. And at the end, I have to put a cul-de-sac, and the cul-de-sac is 105 foot in diameter. And then every curb radius, when it comes to coming into and exiting this cul-de-sac, is a 25-foot curb return radii. Okay. Now, there's some other things. In this jurisdiction, this is Kaufman County, Texas. Kaufman County states the following. Drainage easements will not be included in the overall lot area of your new lots on your preliminary plat. So this is a drainage easement down here. It's 20 foot wide. That means this cannot be included in any new lots. The lots must stand on their own without this drainage easement, and they have to be, in this case, 1 acre in size or greater, because that's Kaufman County rules. And that's a rule because they don't have sewer service out there. They have drain fields. Okay, drain fields have require a 1 acre lot minimum in Kaufman County. The last thing to note, or last two things actually to note, is this here represents 2 pipelines that run right through here. And pipelines are very important in Texas. These are oil pipelines. This is not natural gas. This is oil, as in coming from the oil field going to the refinery before it becomes gasoline and diesel. Okay, that type of oil. So there are 2 large diameter 48-inch pipeline oils in here. And this is their easement. It's like 50 feet each side of the pipe. So it's a fairly large 150-foot wide easement. This gray line represents a 20-foot private utility easement, which, because of the way Kaufman County is set up, they do not allow you to put water and sewer within the roadway perimeter. You must put it on the outside and put it into your private network. But because it's a utility easement, the area between the roadway right-of-way and that utility boundary, that area can be included in your lot information, in your lot square footage or area. It's not a drainage easement, it's a utility easement. Lastly, there's an additional right-of-way up here coming from this main drag over here. This is Farm to Market 987, also known as an FM 987 road. So this here is the additional dedicated right-of-way we have to give to that road. So that means I have some restrictions before I can begin my plat. I know that that's going to be based on the alignment I created some time ago. This is going to become my roadway right-of-way. I know after doing the drainage, this is where I'm going to put my exit drain pipe, because back down in here is a creek called Little Creek, I believe. Anyways, it's somewhere way over here. And this all drains down into a creek system. I know I can't include the easement information. I should. I mean, don't get me wrong. I could put this area here into a lot and it would be fine, but because it's considered a utility, a pipeline, and I could consider it part of the project. But as a utility easement, in this case, a big pipeline, you never build on those, right? So you don't really want to include that as sellable land. It's going to remain an easement, its own private easement. The day they take that out, which will never happen, but if they ever did, then the easement would go away. And when the easement goes away, then it's open space land, regardless. Okay, so we did a parcel by object. We're going to do another parcel by object for this guy. And we're going to do these guys because they shouldn't be part of it, and these two, and that bugger. So all these yellow lines are going to become a parcel by object, and we're going to do them all at one time, and then we will change up what they look like. Okay, so parcel pull down on the home tab of the ribbon, create design panel, parcel pull down, create a parcel from an object. Select all the yellow lines one at a time. So they are all lit up. All right, we got them all. Hit enter. Now we get the handy dandy box. We want to make sure we're on site A. These are all easements. We'll change it to easements. We're going to leave the base layers alone. We're not going to automatically label the segments, but we are going to change the name to, let's go with just good old-fashioned area. And we will go ahead and erase everything. Poof. Multiple parcels everywhere. Now, that is parcel in boundary because it's lighting up as green. That is what was left of the copied parcel to site A, okay? So I can do a match. I want this label to look like that. So MA for match, good old-fashioned match, original origin layer, origin label, destination label. So now it's matched. Note that they all look the same. I could select, let's go into properties, bring up our properties dialog again. Let's select that road label. And it's really not an easement. Up here in style, I'm going to flip it from easement to road. Okay, and the area is fine. I really don't have to, but it's fine. Now, I know that, oh, look, I didn't get an easement down here. Why is that? Oh, they don't meet that line work. So how do I converted them? They're coming up as parcel segments, but they didn't meet the line work. All right, extend, E-X-T-E-N-D, good old extend. Select your line, extend, and plain thing. And when I extend, they instantly get a label. It is an easement. Let's see. Yeah, I can leave it as easement. I go to, let's say, open space on that. And let's select these other two easements right here and right here, do pipeline easements, and change them to open space as well. Even though they are easements, we're going to do that. And make sure it's stuck on road. Good. Now, I'm bringing this up because there is a hierarchy to parcels. Feature lines, because they're feature lines, usually feature lines has a hierarchy, and we're going to start with that discussion. Whatever was drawn last in the feature line will rule, or whatever is in the, however the feature lines are set up in their hierarchy will rule. Depends on how it was done. Generally, it goes from the initial setup is this is the hierarchy, the style of the feature line. Style on top rules over the styles below. Then you go and you draw in your feature lines, and whatever was drawn last, regardless of what style it was, all of a sudden becomes the ruler. It's kind of weird. But parcels are not like that in any way, shape, or form. Instead, if I'm over here in Site A and I right-click the collection title called Parcels and I go into Properties, I'm going to get a Composition and an Analysis tab. And on the Composition tab, it's going to recognize what styles are currently out here. Okay, it recognizes that. It doesn't recognize every style in the drawing. There may be more than this many styles, but the current style is in use. Okay, so what at the moment rules? What do you want to rule? Do you want the property to be the one that always rules, or do you want open space? In most cases, I want property. So I'm going to move that up to the top. And then I want road. And then it's just a toss-up between these two. Okay, so whatever's on top rules. And what that means is what line work from what style. So the property style look will overrule anything else if it's on a property style. Okay. And then the road style line work will overrule. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. All right, so it didn't change a whole lot, and we won't really notice much of this until I add in the lots. When I add in the lots, things will really change. So now let's do some lots. Now I'm bringing this up. We're going to do parcels. From the Home tab, create design panel of the ribbon, parcel creation tools. And this is my favorite toolbar. Again, the far right chevron up and down expands the toolbar. Okay. We work on the toolbar from the left to the right, top to bottom. Currently, the parcel minimum, I needed a 1 acre minimum. My frontage is supposed to be 75 feet from lot to lot. My frontage offset, and that's 75 feet based on that 25-foot front offset. Okay. Minimum width, 25. Minimum depth, 50. Do you want a maximum depth? In this case, no, because I don't know how shallow this is on this side over here. Maximum, let's see, use the shortest footage or the smallest area. Okay, automatic could be on, but I'm going to leave it to off, place the remainder in the last parcel, redistribute the remainder, or create a parcel. I'm going to place the remainder in the last parcel if there's excess left over. So we got that set up. That's awesome. Now, the first button over here, this is adding a fixed line. That will make a single line, point A to point B. Okay, that's all it does. It doesn't make a complete parcel. It just makes a line, one line, not a complete parcel. Do I need to add an arc from a line? I can do it 2 different ways, 3 points or 2 points in a radius. This one is tangent to tangent with no curves, drawing tangent to tangent with no curves, continuous. I'm going to come over to the fourth button that actually has the very second pull down, not the first, but the second pull down. And we're going to do my favorite in the world, and we're going to make a slide line create. And before I do that, I'm going to minimize this chevron, and then I'll come back, and because you need to see what's going on the command bar. So I'm going to grab that slide line create. Hold on a second. I didn't grab that. Try that again. Maybe I did. All right. Minimize, pull down, slide line create. Okay, never mind. So it's kind of, always does. It's depending on what version of Civil3D you're in, this either comes out and flies out like this and drives you nuts, or it doesn't. Anyway, so you get to create parcels by layout box. It's going to be by lot. I'm going to choose lot. We're going to leave the object layers alone, and I'm going to go with name square foot, and I'm going to turn on the label everything, and I want it to do this lot dimension label. Actually, yeah, lot dimensions, smart, because that way I've at least got some dimensions on there. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. Now, I'm going to move this out of the way. Select the parcel to be subdivided or pick. So it means select the parcel area label, not the line work, the label. We'll start at the front. Okay, it said it found it. Now, select a starting point on the frontage. The frontage is this line, the yellow roadway boundary line. And I'm going to choose end, typing in end, enter, grabbing a point. This is my jig line. My jig line, I will follow it to the other end. I don't want to go purple because that's not in that parcel. This is the way, purple's a no-go, yellow is the way to go. But I just need to go to the end. I don't need to go around the corner. So I'll just go end, click. That's my end point. Circle to start, arrow to end. Got it. Okay, specified angle. Are we going to go 90 degrees off this line? Or are we going to go 85, 45? What are we going to do? If I just hit enter, it's going to go 90. So I think we'll just choose 90. And now I remember, I started it from here, so it's going to go 1 acre, 1 acre, 1 acre, whatever's left. If I started down this way and went that way, 1 acre, 1 acre, 1 acre, whatever's left. Okay, so enter. That's not bad. Get a nice little preview. Enter. Still not bad. Enter. Looking good. Wait a second. The distance selected is less than the minimum frontage of 75 feet. What should I do? Hit OK. And it says, I don't know. Even though I told it to place the remainder in, which it did, put the remainder in the last parcel. Great. Okay. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to just hit enter one more time. And I'm going to select my next parcel, which is down to the south. It stays in it. I'm going to go back to my easement. I'm going to hit end. Again, jig line and end. Okay, looks good. Enter, 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 enter. And yep, looking good. All right, we're making progress. Now, I turn these in. Let's start with this side down here on the bottom after the pipeline easement. Grab the label. See, it stays in it. I haven't hit escape yet. End of the 20-foot drainage easement. Jig line around the bend to the pipeline easement end. Okay, start to end, looks good. Enter, 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 enter. Looking good. All right. One more enter to get it out of that. Last one. Now this is the one I've had a little problem with in the past, so it may be a little weird, but we're going to give it a shot either way. Select the label. Come over here to the drainage easement again, say end, and go to the pipeline easement end. Yes, enter. Yep, beginning and end looks good. Enter, 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 enter. This is the one that's weird. Okay. Now, so now let's do some lots. Now I'm bringing this up. We're going to do parcels. From the Home tab, create design panel of the ribbon, parcel creation tools. And this is my favorite toolbar. Again, the far right chevron up and down expands the toolbar. Okay. We work on the toolbar from the left to the right, top to bottom. Currently the parcel minimum, I needed a 1 acre minimum. My frontage is supposed to be 75 feet from lot to lot. My frontage offset, and that's 75 feet based on that 25-foot front offset. Okay. Minimum width, 25, minimum depth, 50. Do you want a maximum depth? In this case, no, because I don't know how shallow this is on this side over here. Maximum, let's see, use the shortest footage or the smallest area. Okay. Automatic could be on, but I'm going to leave it to off. Place the remainder in the last parcel, redistribute the remainder, or create a parcel. I'm going to place the remainder in the last parcel if there's excess left over. So we got that set up. That's awesome. Now, the first button over here, this is adding a fixed line. That will make a single line, point A to point B. Okay, that's all it does. It doesn't make a complete parcel. It just makes a line, one line, not a complete parcel. Do I need to add an arc from a line? I can do it 2 different ways, 3 points or 2 points in a radius. This one is tangent to tangent with no curves, drawing tangent to tangent with no curves, continuous. I'm going to come over to the 4th button that actually has the very second pull down, not the first, but the second pull down. And we're going to do my favorite in the world, and we're going to make a slide line create. And before I do that, I'm going to minimize this chevron, and then I'll come back, and because you need to see what's going on the command bar. So I'm going to grab that slide line create. Hold on a second. I didn't grab that. Try that again. Maybe I did. All right. Minimize, pull down, slide line create. Okay, never mind. So it's kind of, always does. It's depending on what version of Civil3D you're in, this either comes out and flies out like this and drives you nuts, or it doesn't. Anyway, so you get to create parcels by layout box. It's going to be by lot. I'm going to choose lot. We're going to leave the object layers alone, and I'm going to go with name square foot, and I'm going to turn on the label everything, and I want it to do this lot dimension label. Actually, yeah, lot dimensions smart, because that way I've at least got some dimensions on there. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. Now, I'm going to move this out of the way. Select the parcel to be subdivided or pick. So it means select the parcel area label, not the line work, the label. We'll start at the front. Okay, it said it found it. Now, select a starting point on the frontage. The frontage is this line, the yellow roadway boundary line. And I'm going to choose end, typing in end, enter, grabbing a point. This is my jig line. My jig line, I will follow it to the other end. I don't want to go purple because that's not in that parcel. This is the way, purple's a no-go, yellow is the way to go. But I just need to go to the end. I don't need to go around the corner, so I'll just go end, click. That's my end point. Circle to start, arrow to end. Got it. Click. That's my end point. Circle to start, arrow to end. Got it. Okay, specified angle. Are we going to go 90 and not in that parcel? This is the way, purple's a no-go, yellow is the way to go. But I just need to go to the end. I don't need to go around the corner, so I'll just go end, click. That's my end point. Circle to start, arrow to end. Got it. Okay, specified angle. Are we going to go 90 degrees off this line? Or are we going to go 85, 45? What are we going to do? If I just hit enter, it's going to go 90. So I think we'll just choose 90. And now I remember, I started it from here, so it's going to go 1 acre, 1 acre, 1 acre, whatever's left. If I started down this way and went that way, 1 acre, 1 acre, 1 acre, whatever's left. Okay, so enter. That's not bad. Get a nice little preview. Enter. Still not bad. Enter. Looking good. Wait a second. The distance selected is less than the minimum frontage of 75 feet. What should I do? Hit OK. And it says, I don't know. Even though I told it to place the remainder in, which it did, put the remainder in the last parcel. Great. Okay. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to just hit enter one more time, and I'm going to select my next parcel, which is down to the south. It stays in it. I'm going to go back to my easement. I'm going to hit end. Again, jig line and end. Okay, looks good. Enter, 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 enter. And yep, looking good. All right, we're making progress. Now, I turn these in. Let's start with this side down here on the bottom after the pipeline easement. Grab the label. See, it stays in it. I haven't hit escape yet. End of the 20-foot drainage easement. Jig line around the bend to the pipeline easement. End. Okay. Start to end. Looks good. Enter, 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 enter. Looking good. All right. One more enter to get it out of that. Last one. Now, this is the one I've had a little problem with in the past, so it may be a little weird, but we're going to give it a shot either way. Select the label, come over here to the drainage easement again, say end, and go to the pipeline easement, end. Yes, enter, yep, beginning and end looks good. Enter, 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 enter. This is the one that's weird. Okay, now I've got my parcels all laid out, but the kicker here is lot 22, 1 acre. I've got some oddball things going on here. 1 acre. It's some labeling issues. Okay, I'm good with everything. I'm going to go ahead and just kill this. I'm going to hit escape or close the parcel creation tools toolbar. So I have 16 lots. That's what this says here. Now, this doesn't always happen real pretty like this. Okay, I'm missing a label here, so I'm going to match. I want all these to be those green labels. So I'm going to match my, say, lot 15 area label to that guy. That's in between, which is actually more than 16, to the other guy, any one of the labels that didn't look right, I'm matching it. In 6 label, so this doesn't always happen. So I have 16 lots. That's what this says here. Now, this doesn't always happen real pretty like this, okay? I'm missing a label here, so I'm going to match. I want all these to be those green labels, so I'm going to match my, that's what the parcel creation tools toolbar. Kill this. I'm going to hit escape or close the parcel creation tools toolbar. So I have 16 lots. That's what this says here. Now, this doesn't always happen real pretty like this, okay? I'm missing a label here, so I'm going to match. I want all these to be those green labels. So I'm going to match my, say, lot 15 area label to that guy that's in between, which is actually more between. Match my, I'm missing a label here, so I'm going to match. I want all these to be those green labels. So I'm going to match my lots, the parcel creation tools toolbar. So I have 16 lots. That's what this says here. Now, this doesn't always happen real pretty like this, okay? I'm missing a label here, so I'm going to match. I want all these to be those green labels. So I'm going to match my, say, lot 15 area label to that guy that's in between, which is actually more than 16, to the other guy, any one of the labels that didn't look right, I'm matching it. When I do that match, it also grabs over the style. Now notice my roadway has become cyan. Let's go take a look again at parcel properties. I'm going to right-click the parcels on the tool space for the A site, go into the properties, and now my lot, I've been adding lot, is now on top of my property, so it overrules. If I grab property and I send it to the top and then have lot, and maybe I put road above lot, but then leave open space and easement. So property, road, lot, and easement. Hit OK. Now I have a white, blue, and yellow. Wow, that's how we controlled all that. Nice, huh? All right. Another thing to notice, if I right-click again on parcels and I go into properties, let's say this is a block, like block A, block B, block C. This site area label will control the entire thing and give you a block label. So if I do parcel name, for say, on the site area label and I hit OK, somewhere right there, way out here, okay, there's my parcel area name. Now I can grab that, bring this in, and maybe this parcel area name has a circle on it. And if I select it here and I go up into my properties for that parcel area and I pin it, it won't move, okay? You also need to put it on a layer other than 0. So maybe it needs to be on annotation text, something like that. And this would be like block A. You could put a label in front of this. You could say, here's my parcel name, excuse me, for the style. Hold down, create edit, go into the edit, current selection. Obviously, it's the wrong text style for me. I'd like it on civil. It's fine to be on property text. Layout, it's just name. I can go into text components, say name. I could call this block, L-O-C-K, space A. Okay, I just clicked in here and typed and spaced it when I hit OK. Great. It's big, it's 0.15. I could turn on a boundary. It could be circular, like that. Okay. Background masking, good old text masking, that's fine. Hit OK. Hit OK. There's block A. Okay. So you could do that for blocking. You can, then that's again under the parcels of the site, right-click the properties, and that is the site area label style to get your block in there. All right. To know if your parcel line was a polyline or not, when you select one of these lines, if a diamond shows up at the bottom, it was made by the parcel creation toolbox. Whereas if I select this line, I get grips, square grips, that's a polyline. That's how you know. I can slide this with this diamond left, and look, that updated, and right, it updates dynamically. I can undo my slides so I get back to where I was. Right there, 1 acre, 1 acre. Now, on this property, I'm going to let you know right up front, number one, I can only have 15 lots because according to Kaufman County, when you have a road with a cul-de-sac, it's only allowed to have 15 lots on the cul-de-sac. And I asked them about this. Doesn't the cul-de-sac mean from the start of the curb return to the end of the curb return of the cul-de-sac, no more than 15 lots around said cul-de-sac? The answer to that was no. No, that means the entire road. Okay, so that means if I broke this road up, right, and I put a crossing T in here, then it would be from that crossing T point to that cul-de-sac. That's where they would count my lots to 15. But I don't know what the count is, so I need to renumber. I'm going to select an area label from one of these parcels. I'm going to go up to renumber and rename. This is site A. We're going to start at number 1. Now, this every lot, if you cross over here, it will renumber that one. So we're only going to go in groups. Okay, we're going to increment at 1. We're starting at number 1 and hit OK. Click in the starting, click in the ending, and hit enter. And now hit enter one more time. Over here is from one of these parcels. So I need to renumber. I'm going to select an area label from one of these parcels. I'm going to go up to renumber and rename. As a site A, we're going to start at number 1. Now this every lot, if you cross over here, it will renumber that one. So we're only going to go in groups. Okay, we're going to increment at 1. We're starting at number 1 and hit OK. Click in the starting, click in the ending, and hit enter. And now hit enter one more time. And one more time. Lot 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Do it again. Grab the next parcel, rename and renumber from the ribbon. We are starting at 5, incrementing at 1, hit OK, beginning here, going to there, enter, enter. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more time, select the next one at the bottom, renumber, going from 10, 10, done. And wherever you click, that's the path it's going to follow when it renumbers. So you can click more than once, okay? 10, 11, 12, 13. So let's find out how many we really have. 14. I'm only allowed 15 now. Okay. According to this, I can get 18 lots, but some of these are under an acre, like that 0.63, that 0.44. So those 2 lots have to go. How do I get rid of them? I can't delete the layer or the label. I can, however, delete the line work. 1, 2, I'm going to select the lot line and hit enter. And when I do that, it renumbers them, shrinks them, right, and goes for it. So now I'm 2 from 17. Ooh, that might work. So I'm going to grab lot 2, renumber. I'm going to reset the starting number to 1, hit OK, pin, pin, enter, enter. Now we're at 3. Let's see what we get here. Selecting lot, what is currently lot 5, hit renumber, starting at lot 4, from lot 5 to what is lot 9 right now, enter, enter. So now we're 8, good, looking good. I'm going to select what's lot 10, rename your number, should reset to number 9, starting in 10, clicking to 11, then clicking to 13, enter and enter. Good, we're at 12, we're looking good, 12. All right, lot 14 label, renumber, rename, start at 13, looks good, from 14 to 17, enter, enter. I'm still one too many. Okay, let's make a judgment call. Can you really put a driveway here? Is this really an awesomely brilliant lot? No, I think my client would love to have an extra size lot. He's got 2 nice size extra size lots up here in the front, but right here, he could do the same thing. So let's delete this lot line, erase 1 lot line, and we're down. So this was 3, this will now become 4. So what is 5? I will grab lot 5, rename, renumber, go to 4 on my starting number. In the renumber, rename parcels dialog, hit OK. Starting at 5, going to 8, enter, enter. See, we're doing this again, aren't we? Grab lot 9, label, rename, renumber, should restart at 8, lot 9, 10 through 12, enter, enter. 11, looking good. All right, last one, grab lot 13. And make sure if you grab more than one, this is what happens. Your ribbon does this move site, copy site routine. Hit escape until you deselect everything, then re-grab the label, rename, renumber, hit OK from lot 13 to the end. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an acceptable lot configuration of lot 15 lots. They are an acre in size or more. Okay, we have a roadway, which is 60 feet wide. We have dummy line work in here meant for the 20-foot wide utility corridor. And we have the easements for the drainage easement and the pipeline easements both in play. That is an acceptable preliminary plat to get labeled up and started with. Now, all these labels on the line work were automatically put on here when we created these through the create line, slide line create process. And there are other tools besides slide line create, but these labels, again, in the property box, can be changed at any time by simply selecting a different style, okay? Whatever style you so choose. You can make one that's a bearing only. You could do BSBL, line dim. See, there's a lot of different styles in here. So don't be afraid to change up the styles. Do these labels need to be remaining in your XREF? Can you put them live in the sheet? Yes, you can. The only thing you can't put live in the sheet is that area label. Okay, these labels in here on this line work can be erased completely, and then when you XREF this file into a sheet, you can label using the Annotate tab of the ribbon, add labels top button dialog. With the add labels box up, you can do the feature selecting the parcel because these are parcels. You could do individual segment labels in the sheet, and you could select this line as the XREF item, and it will actually label that up as an actual line live in the sheet, even though it's XREF in. So they do not have to be in your model. And I don't suggest leaving them in your model. I really do suggest if you're going to XREF these into another sheet, which, you know, here's the thing. Most surveyors, they don't do that. They just leave them in the model here, and this model becomes the real thing, and then they go over here to the sheet, and they do this. And that's absolutely fine to do, okay? Absolutely fine. The civil designer, though, will go in here and erase all these damn labels because it's not necessary to show all those labels in every single sheet that the civil designer has to make. So it's, you know, depending on how you want to set that up is really up to you. All right, almost enough about parcels. So on parcels, I'm going to go back up to the home tab of the ribbon, create design. You can create a right-of-way. You have to have an alignment to do that. When you do create right-of-way, you select the alignment, you select the width of the alignment, and then how to handle the corners. Do you want a corner clip or not? When you do that, it will make this interior parcel for you. You don't have to necessarily start off with your own that you made from a polyline. You can start off with an alignment. The problem is getting it to make it with the freaking cul-de-sac. Have fun with that. It's just easier to, you know, offset the alignment 30 feet each side and put in the cul-de-sac properly and blend the line work yourself and then do this. Much easier than struggling through it. But I want to touch a little bit more on parcel creation tools. Back here in this dialog, on that pull down we used, that was the very first option, slide line create. There's also a swing line create, which lets you do a point. If I show you real quick, I'm going to just go with what we got here. I'm going to select one of these larger ones. It wants me to select a point on the frontage, and here, specify the swing point along this frontage line. I'll grab it here, and now specify the other side of the swing point. I'm going to grab it near, back here, and that's how a swing point. So it needs a front and a bottom, or starting and an end point for a swing line, okay? So swing line can be very handy as well if you're not looking at a specific 90-degree angle off of a frontage line, okay? At this point, I would save the file, you know, and put all my text and all my easement crap and all that stuff. Yeah, okay. Switching gears. Now we understand the difference here between the two, okay? Note that there's only one parcel here, and that parcel is still right here. That's its own boundary parcel. But this line work is different because there is no real boundary anymore. It's all open space, lots, all that, anything but a boundary. So there's really no property overall anymore. In order to change that back, you're going to have to go through and find that property style that was assigned the lot style to it and change it. Not easy to do, trust me. Kind of a pill. That's why I put them in two separate files, an XREF and the existing one, so that I can turn things on and off. Okay, moving on. Let's go into the alignment start file. Okay, we got about an hour to go over alignments and profiles. That should take, and cross sections. We should be able to handle that. Let's minimize a lot of stuff going in here. All right, alignment start. This is from the survey file we've been working with over the last couple times. And in here you see a bunch of different polylines. They're magenta and they're polylines. Okay, there's a Logan Court. There's another really long alignment. Okay, so there are several ways to make an alignment. An alignment, let's remember, is a center line of I want to say a thing, but that's really not the way to say it. It's a center line of a potentially new object, and that object could be a road, it could be a creek, it could be a retaining wall, it could be a curb line, a sidewalk, a center line of something that you are going to create, okay? So don't clue in that alignment is only for center line of road. Center line of road is one of many options. It's the most common option. That's why we teach alignments with a center line of road. But what if you had to put a retaining wall in there? You're going to have to do an alignment at some point if you want to apply other things to it. What if I was going to what if I'm going to move a creek, or maybe a storm system, or a water line, or a sewer line? Those all have center lines, right? So those all could be aligned. They could have an alignment applied to them. So just think of it in that way. Now, alignments, like parcels, can be made two ways. You can make them by object. That means you have to have lines, arcs, polylines, or 3D polylines like these. Or they can be made by the alignment creation toolbar. Like parcels, where it has swing line create, alignments have the option to draw tangent to tangent, add a curve, don't add a curve type of thing. So let's talk about the easiest one. Let's go up to alignment, pull down on the ribbon, home tab, create design panel. And of course, the very first one is alignment creation tools, like parcel creation tools. That's that. Put it out there by your own point to point on your own. No, you're going to do it on the fly. You're not going to use a polyline, but we have several polylines. So let's make some alignments by create alignment from objects. Now notice I have many other options in here. Networks, pressure networks, that's water. This is gravity, storm, and sanitary sewer. An existing alignment from an existing, you had the existing file. These, these are proposed roadway alignments, but there was already a street we're connecting to. That would be considered an existing alignment that you put in there, and you called it an existing whatever roadway, right? You can offset an alignment, take an alignment and put an offset left and right to it, making a turnout, making a right-of-way, making parking, making another lane from a 2-lane to a 4-lane road, or a highway where you have to do an alignment down the median, and then you have to do 3 or 4 lanes on the left, 3 or 4 lanes on the right. Those would be offsets, some distance. You can create a connected alignment. That's where the two existing alignments or alignments that you've made, whether they are polyline or done from creation tools, are now going to be put together and made a connection. So where does this come in handy? Curb returns, roundabouts, create connected alignments. Now you got to remember when you're doing this, it's going to connect the alignment. So if your alignment is a center line and you're trying to make a curb return alignment, you actually need an offset alignment that represents the gutter line of the roadway. And those two gutters can be merged together to make that curb return, okay? And then a widening. That's bus turnouts, where you're going to add a lane on a 2-lane road, make it a 3-lane, and then come back to a 2-lane. That's a widening. You're going to go out and then come back in for a set distance. So these are your mini options, but as a surveyor, the ones you'll use the most is either alignment, create from alignment from an object, or the alignment creation tools. Very rarely will you use these 3 bottom, or any of these guys, corridor down. So let's start with the create alignment from objects. And I need to, first of all, when I do that, it needs me to select a line, arc, or polyline that's live in the file, or through an XREF of the same items. And if I'm going to, again, do an XREF, you must click on XREF before you go selecting the lines. So let's start off with this Jordan Court. I'm just going to grab that polyline, lights it up. I'm going to hit enter. The first thing is it shows me this white arrow. You see this guy, little white arrow? That's the direction of stationing. 0 following that arrow, 1 plus 2. Okay, is that the right direction you want to station from? You want 0 at the intersection, or do you want 0 way down here? We do. This is a good arrow. It's good. It's going to ask me, do you want to accept that direction? Say yes. We're going to hit enter. If I didn't like it, I'd tell it to reverse it and then say yes. Next, it needs a name. You can enter Jordan Court. Obviously, this was done before. You could enter Jordan CT, keep it short, your choice. What type of an alignment is it? Now this is important because when you go to use the intersection tool, if you do not have the right alignment type selected, it will use that alignment when making an intersection. I bring this up because if you're making a storm alignment, a sewer alignment, a water line alignment, a rail, a curb return, an offset alignment, and if you don't put them, the utilities like storm, sewer, and water go into miscellaneous. End of story. End of story. Actual roadway center lines go in center line. Actual curb returns go in curb return. The program looks at what type you select when you use the intersection tool. And if you didn't select the right type, let's say you put the sewer line in center line. It will, and that sewer line goes right by this one or crosses this one. It will think it's part of an intersection and try to blend your sewer line like a roadway into your road. And you're going to go, what? Why do I have, instead of 2 alignments, I have 3? And why is this thing having problems? That's why, because the sewer line didn't have the right type selected. Now this can be changed in the properties of the alignment after you have made it if you made a mistake. But that means you also have to understand, you go back to intersections and you have to erase the intersection, make the change, hit save, and then come back and do it all again. which is not easy. The intersection wizard's a little bit of a pain in the butt. So just a mental note, and choose the correct type to begin with. It's important. Center line. If you choose to enter a description, you may. Is your starting station 0? In some cases, and in most cases, it might be, but there's jurisdictions that don't like 0 because they like you to be able to back up a little bit, and you can't really go negative on alignment. It kind of confuses the program. Although it will do it, it can confuse it. I like to start at station 1000. That way, if I go backwards, it's 950, or 850. I have some room to go backwards. It's fine. But there are engineers out there who are very adamant it must be 0. Fine. That's fine. Now, alignments do not have to go in a site. If you put them in a site and there are parcels in that site and they cross or completely enclose a parcel, they will make a new parcel. So you got this parcels going around along in this area right here, and let's say when I make this alignment, it actually creates a closed parcel or closed polygon within these parcels. That'll become its own little parcel. So you got to be careful. That's what would happen if you put it in a site and the site already had parcels. We're going to leave them out. So that way they show up under the toolspace and alignments collection and not under toolspace sites and the site name and then alignments, okay? What is the style? We're going to choose STARM proposed. That's my personal style. The generic Civil3D will have proposed, or might even just say design. But I went in and make a bunch of changes, so I am STARM proposed. Okay. The object will go on the C-road layer. Now, here is something I want you to be aware of. If I am going to be displaying alignments in different pages, I need to be able to turn off the stationing on Madison Lane when I'm only displaying Jordan Court, and vice versa. In order to do that, I also need to be able to turn off certain things. So to separate those by roadway, in the alignment layer box, I'm going to choose the layer button. And in the object layer dialog that appears, I'm going to choose a modifier of a suffix. And then my modifier is a dash asterisk, also known as wildcard. And it will pick up the name, like you see here, and make a new layer, C-row-Jordan Court. And that way I can put everything on an individual layer so that in the sheets I can have a bit more layer control. Okay. In order to do that, I also need to be able to turn off certain things. So to separate those by roadway, in the alignment layer box, I'm going to choose the layer button. And in the object layer dialog that appears, I'm going to choose a modifier of a suffix. And then my modifier is a dash asterisk, also known as wildcard. And it will pick up the name, like you see here, and make a new layer, C-row-Jordan Court. And that way I can put everything on an individual layer so that in the sheets I can have a bit more layer control. Okay. For the alignment label set, we're going to choose a label set. Let's do STARM center paving because it is a roadway. This is a polyline. It already has curves. I do not need to add curves, so I will deselect add curves between tangents. And I can erase the existing polyline. I'm good with that. I'm going to hit OK. And it instantly creates an alignment. Now, alignments are dynamic. Let's go down here to the bottom. 3399 is the number of our alignment. If I select the alignment line, I get grips. Okay, and I scroll out a little bit. I have a square grip, it's an end grip, and that's an end grip. These are, the circle grip is for my radii. This diamond grip will extend or however you want to do it. You see it, you can see it going the diameter. So that's why I select it. I'm going to escape once. I'm going to select the middle button. And again, it does a similar thing, but what it's changing here, which the diamond does not allow, is the midpoint of that curve. I can go left and right and out with it. Whereas if I'm only on the diamond, I can't go left and right. It's very specific, only a radii change. As I change this, and don't do this on yours, but just watch, I'm going to go in. This comes out. This is called an extension line. These are extensions. And I'm going to go in. Okay. At some point, these come together and create a PVI. And note the stationing here changes, as does the stationing over here. Stationing is dynamic. It updates as you make changes on the fly. I'm going to undo now. Go back to the world, of the original world. These labels PC, the PT PC part can be changed. These are the point of curvature, point of tangency labels. You could put a midpoint label in there if you so choose. And I'm just going to scroll up and see what we've got here. We got PT. PT, there's obviously a line right through here. This is controlled as this is a marker, this little circle. Okay, you can control what type of marker is put there. It is the same marker, and it is sharing the same object style as used in points. Is it points? That's wrong. Sorry, wrong one. Points, or is it general one? Sorry, markers in general, sorry. General, multi-purpose, on the settings tab of the tool space, under general, multi-purpose marker styles, these markers are here, and they are shared in corridors, in alignments, and profiles. So if you make a change here, just to reflect this, let's say I changed the actual block style up, because that's a circle, right? If I change that block style up, in the profile, it'll have the same identical block, and it would reflect that, unless I changed it in the style of the alignment stationing to use a different marker over here, okay? So these are shared. So one change, it can affect more than just the alignments. Be cautious when you make changes. Let's take a quick look at the labeling. I'm going to select the alignment anywhere, right-click, and go into Edit Alignment Labels. We have geometry points. That's what these are. And it's using the style called paving geometry points. We have major and minor. These are our majors. This is my minor, okay? And these are labels, okay? So these are stationing in the style of the alignment stationing to use a different marker over here, okay? So these are shared. So one change, it can affect more than just the alignments. Be cautious when you make changes. Let's take a quick look at the labeling. I'm going to select the alignment anywhere, right-click, and go into Edit Alignment Labels. We have geometry points. That's what these are. And it's using the style called paving geometry points. We have major and minor. These are our majors. This is my minor, okay? And I can change the increment. Every 100 foot is a major, every 50 foot's a minor. The geometry points themselves, I can come over here to the More button under geometry point, and I could say, besides tangent curve, curve to curve, compound, or reverse, I could add in additional, like curve midpoint, hit OK, and now I get curve midpoint, okay? Let me select the alignment again, right-click, and go into Edit Alignments. And let me take a look at paving geometry points. If I click the little label right here, it brings up the pick label style. Again, we default to Edit Current Selection. Here is our editing name. It's a line, it's true. Just kind of looking at what we have. We have the line and the point and the station. Station value, we're not doing that. Anchor is the anchor point is this line. The anchor point end is the end of it, and it's just called a geometry point station. So there's nothing on here that says you shall use a specific block from the marker style over here. So where is that at, right? That's the next question. You're like, well, she talked about it. If I select the alignment, right-click on it, and instead of editing the label, I go into Alignment Properties, okay? So alignment hold on, I'm thinking this through. I'm off. Sorry, wrong one. Select the alignment, right-click, Edit Alignments. It's under this style, sorry. It's Edit Alignment Style. My bad. So the style that we selected, ST Arm Proposed, under Markers, there's all these awesome markers. Look at that, Alignment Geometry, Station Reference Point, PI Point, a bunch of alignment geometry. So if I go in here and I change these from Alignment Geometry, look, Alignment Geometry, and I go to PI Marked Point. Let's go to Marked Point on a bunch of these, where I just click the button on the right to bring up the Pick Marker Style dialog and choose some new ones. And I'm just going to pick, choose, scroll down to Marked Point. I'm just going to do several of these because these are curves. I'm not sure which curve it is. I'm going to hit OK and see if these changed. No, they did not. Select, right-click, Edit Alignment Style, Station Reference Point, change that, and eventually find the right one. Because there's a lot of alignment geometries. Reverse, spiral, line, curve, intersect. Eventually, I'm going to find it. Could be spiral, could be compound curve. Marked point. Curve, marked point, hit OK, hit OK. Are we even getting any of them? Oh, now, there we go. See, they showed up. Let's make it bigger. Right click, select, edit alignment style. Okay, drawing scale right there. That's the arrowhead. If I look at marked point, click on it. Here's that marked point we've been choosing. If I go over to the edit current selection, anything using marked point right now is used in absolute styles. If I do a drawing scale, 0.05, and hit OK, hit OK, hit OK, it enlarges it. Okay. Now, if that marked point is also used along an alignment line style or in a profile line style, that would grow and be the same. Okay. So they share everything in the style. So we can move an alignment by simply selecting the alignment, grabbing a grip, and moving it, and it will change. And undo works great for bringing things back. So what if I want to draw this by hand? I could go, and we're going to do that. Let's do this. Let's do this easy. No, let's do Madison Lane. Okay, we'll go up here to Alignment dropdown, and let's do Alignment Creation Tools, and this is by hand. This is going to be Madison Lane. It is a center line. I'm going to start this one at 2,000. Actually, it was at 4. Right? That was like at 33 now. So let's start at 4,000 because this goes 1 to 4. And it's going to be a proposed storm. It's this by hand. Undo works great for bringing things back. So what if I want to draw this by hand? I could go, and we're going to do that. Let's do this. Let's do this easy. No, let's do Madison Lane. Okay, we'll go up here to Alignment dropdown, and let's do Alignment Creation Tools, and this is by hand. This is going to be point. I'm just going to do a and see if the style and spiral. Okay, see style, edit current drawing point, and it will change. To draw this by hand, I could go, and we're going to do that. Let's do this. Let's do this easy. No, let's do Madison Lane. Okay, we'll go up here to Alignment dropdown, and let's do Alignment Creation Tools, and this is by hand. This is going to be Madison Lane. It is a center line. I'm going to start this one at 2,000. Actually, it was at 4. Right? That was like at 33 now. So let's start at 4,000 because this goes 1 to 4. And it's going to be a proposed storm. It's going to have to go to alignment layers, select the layer, object layer box, go to the modifier, go to suffix, modifier dash star, and go to storm centerline paving, no site. Look, I have the option to do design criteria. This is an intersection road. I can have it flag things like stopping site distance, site distance, and things like that. Not a big thing for surveyors, but civil designers, yes. So I might change that to 30 and hit use design criteria. And now I've got some options here. What type of a radius table? A lot of times when you do this, if the guys have done anything, your CAD manager's done anything, they'll have set this all up. But the minimum radius table, this is pulling from the AASHTO series with a maximum of, let's say, 8%. It's going to be a 2-lane road, and we're going to do the crowned roadway. We can go ahead and use a design check set. Well, there should be an option for subdivision. Go ahead and use subdivision. And this will come to play when you do profiling. When you do actual design profiling, if this is all set up, you'll get warnings when the site distance is too short. And that includes, alignment site distance, not just profile site distance. Hit OK. Handy dandy toolbar appears out of nowhere. Again, like parcels, we work from the right to the left, top to bottom. Starting on the first button to the right, we're going to look at the tangent button. So this will put tangents either with a curve or without a curve. And before I ever start doing this, and I want to do it with curves, let's go to curve and spiral settings. There are multiple curves and spirals in here. a lot of different options. There used to not be so many. Clothoid's the most common, but maybe you use cubic parabola, yeah, or biquadratic. I mean, it really depends on what you decide to use. I go with clothoid. A 200-foot radius is fine. Usually you can default to 100. Some fire trucks, 75-foot minimum on a center line is what you have. So you could say 75. Let's go 75, okay? You could do a length, a spiral in and spiral out. Now here's the thing. Spiraling is done in some states, but not in all states. Washington State used to do spirals in and spirals out on all roads until they realized that was the drivers were naturally doing it without needing to do it. So they took that out about 12, 15 years ago. And the only time you really need to do a spiral in and a spiral out of a curve, regardless of who tells you, so if you talk to the railroad guys and you're doing a railroad and the center line is for a railroad, yes, you must do spiral ins and spiral outs. A railroad car cannot do that. It has to have a spiral before it goes into a curve, and it has to have a spiral to come out of a curve. Whereas somebody driving an average automobile will naturally do it, and you don't need it. It's just something that we've kind of trained ourselves to do, and without realizing it. They figured that out a long time ago. Anyways, so we'll stick with standard curves because it's not like you're going to be doing rail anytime soon. I'm going to hit OK. So now I've touched the curve settings, go back up to that same first button, pull down. I'm going to grab tangent to tangent with curves. Ask me for a starting point, which means come down here on the screen and let's click the starting point over here closest to, what is that, Jordan Court. I'm going to say end. Okay. And now it needs to go, where am I going? Where's the next point? I could go here, but if I go there and I try to make this curve, it won't work. I actually have to go between the two of these, and I'm just going to rough it. I'm going to come out here because that's about where I think the PI might be. Okay. And now as I make this corner to the end, I'm going to go end point here. And it's going to say, I think it's there. Okay, I was close. Close. That wasn't on the money. Well, now I can grab the alignment and I can grab this PI point to start dragging it. I'm getting really close. I can also grab these ends and I can use the endo snap. Move that up a little bit so you can see that. And grab to the endpoint, and if you keep playing with it, it will behave at some point. And that's what's interesting is you could, you can't get it on the money. Sometimes it'll drive you nuts. It really will. Now, if I really want to know, I would take my polyline that I didn't erase. I would explode it, and then I would fillet it with a 0 radii. I grab here. I grab there. Ah, that's where my PVI should be. That's the cheat method, by the way. Bing. Okay. I got that lined up. Now let's grab it by the alignment. And that's what's interesting is you could, you can't get it on the money. Sometimes it'll drive you nuts. It really will. Now, if I really want to know, I would take my polyline that I didn't erase. I would explode it, and then I would fillet it with a 0 radii. I grab here. I grab there. Ah, that's where my PVI should be. That's the cheat method, by the way. Bing. Okay. I got that lined up. Now let's grab it by the alignment diameter and do a near and get it out there. Okay. That's cheating. But you can do that to help you, which works just fine. Now, okay, I've got it out there. Maybe I want to add another PVI. That's this next one, insert a PVI. And maybe I'll insert that over here at the beginning. And when I hit enter, it will show up as a little diamond. Maybe I didn't like that diamond because the PVI lets you make a break, okay? See that? It's a break in the line. That's what it is. You see that now? A point of vertical intersection. And it represents itself by a triangle sometime. When you grab it, it represents itself by a triangle grip. To get rid of it, it's the next button. That's delete PI. Get close to it. You don't have to be on the money and click. And it's gone. Okay. Next thing, break apart a PI. Yeah, you could do that. I don't suggest it. When you break something apart, the alignment will stop here and it won't pick back up until it's joined. So if I did this, break apart, pick near the PI to split. Let's go like right there. See if it'll do it. Nope. it doesn't. Okay, I have to add it. Fine. I'll add in a PI, and I'll do break this part. Break apart a PI. Yeah, you could do that. I don't suggest it. When you break something apart, the alignment will stop here, and it won't pick back up until it's joined. So if I did this, break apart, pick near the PI to split. Let's go like right there. See if it'll do it. No, it doesn't. Okay, I have to add it in. Fine. I'll add in a PI, and I'll do break apart PI. No, it's not doing it. All right, fine. Undo, by the way, works great on here. Just keep it and undo till you get back to where you were. I don't have success, obviously, with that one very much. I can add another line, draw a line. We'll do, there's a lot more choices here than there were in parcels. You could do floating lines. You could do a free line between two curves. You could do a fixed line. If I grab fixed line, I need to start somewhere at the end of this and there. Now I have a PI. I can add a curve. My favorite, free curve between two radii, free curve fillet, not fillet, fillet. Select it. Follow the command line. Select the first entity. That's the one going into the curve. Here. Select the next entity, the one coming out of the curve. Yes. Is the solution to the curve greater than or less than 180? Well, at this point, it's less than 180. Enter. And is there a specific radii you'd like to do? 75. And enter. Okay. So now I've got a curve. Okay. I can delete this stuff as well. Now, this is floating line for spirals. The next one is floating curves. The next one is free spiral. What's this one? Oh, that's if you have just straight lines and are, okay, yeah. Conversions, reversing the subentity direction. So that would be starting going, instead from 0 over here, that'd be starting 0 over here. And the very favorite, I really didn't want to put that out there. I need to delete a piece of it, delete a subentity. These are all called subentities. If I grab that curve and I delete it, it goes back. Okay. I don't like that line I added. Grab it, delete it, it goes back. Delete subentity. Then we have, and these two work in conjunction like parcels did. We have to start with the grid version, the subentity editor, and then you pick the subentity picker, and then you can pick a piece of the subentity. Now we selected earlier that we had to do design criteria, and that's where this comes into play. This violates the subdivision curve rule. It is greater than 214 is what the subdivision needs. It says it's 200, so if I go to 225 here, make it larger, now it is happy. Okay, I can go back to 200. If it's white in the white and it's bold, you can make the change. Now it's not happy. That's what that means. That's the warning. And if you hover over the warning, it gives you that information, okay? And it lets you know this is what it's pulling it from up here. Another thing to look at, I'm going to hit escape one time, just once, is the last button on here. These are undo and redo buttons, but the green button, this brings up your parameter editor for say, and each piece is a subentity. So line subentity, a curve subentity, and a line subentity, okay? So they are constrained or not constrained. If it's a curve, it should be constrained on both sides unless it didn't, join up with the lines. And it tells me it's a radius. It gives me the same warning that I got out there before, and it tells me what the minimum should be. And I can select it and make that change here. I don't have to do that other one. I can do 225 here, okay? It'll make that change. It tells me the design speed. It gives me starts and end stations and degree of curvatures. There's also one other thing it can do. I can lock it or I can unlock it, okay? That's kind of important. When you go to lock things, when you're happy with stuff and you don't want things to really change, I can unlock stuff and then everything becomes ungood. If I unlock crap like this, now these corners can go places. Whereas if I lock it, I really can't put that corner. Notice it's really not growing anywhere. So locking will help in some respects. Okay, so that's part of editing and laying out by object. Now, let's take another look at something. Select the alignment, right-click, and go back into alignment properties. So it gives you the name, what you named it. Here's that type that I talked about. down here on that information tab where you can change it up to what type it is, and the style change. If I don't like the starting station, I can station this. You must do this before you make a profile. You can do it after you make a profile, but then you need to go change your profile view stationing, because the profile view is based on the alignment stationing. And if the alignment changes station, the profile view will change station reflectively. They're dynamic in that respect. If I back off and I go to 2000 and I hit apply, it's going to say, hey, hello, is that a smart idea? FYI, if you have profiles made, it's really going to screw them up, and especially if you did a design profile. It's really going to screw them up. But you can hit OK if you're really certain about it. What if I didn't like my 0 station? So this is linked to an X and a Y point. I could reset that, again, by clicking on the button here for the reference point, go find a button, hit OK, and now it wants to know, where is my 0 station really going to be? Okay, maybe it's right here. Insertion. Maybe not insertion of. We'll just pick it there. And now and if I hit apply, that's going to change to 2000 right there. What if somewhere down this road we have a station change out because I'm going from my private stationing to Department of Transportation stationing? Happens. That's where this comes into play, station equations. I can add a station equation, hit OK. Now where is the station change? Let's say I go a few more feet down the road, 2300. That's the initial station, and the station back, maybe it's 5800 ahead, and it's increasing, hit apply, and now it sees everything from that point forward as 5800. I can get rid of that, right-click, go back into my alignment properties, and select what I added into the station equations under the station control tab, and hit delete, and hit OK, and hit apply, and it goes back. Okay. Masking, you can mask or hide a part of an alignment. Again, same way as before, you pick a region and it masks it out. Point of intersection, an implied point, constrain editing, lock all parameters, and design criteria can be turned on and off. Especially with this, you can add different design speeds going from 30 to 60, 30 to 45, that type of thing. Okay, so that's an alignment, and that's 1 by object and 2 by just by hand. I can label alignment again and add the annotate tab, add labels button, feature down to alignment. So things I might label on an alignment, stations and offsets to find stuff, or segment labeling, bearing over distance. If I hit add, and I can grab a segment and I can add a label and add a label. Okay. If I go back to station offset fixed point, I'll just use station and offset, click add, grab the alignment, and now I need to tell it where I'm going. I'm going to go right there, station and offset. I can grab this label, move the diamond grip, and see what happens. It changes. It's dynamic and linked specifically to this alignment. Okay, very handy. If I need to get a table out of an alignment, on the annotate tab, add tables button. Under alignment, you have line, curve, spiral, and segment tables. If I do like segment, it's going to do radius, length, and a value. I need to pick which alignment I need, or I can select the labels, but mainly here. Dynamic means if I change the alignment, it will update automatically. Static means it will never update. Hit OK, and now put this table somewhere away from everything. And there's nothing in there. And you're like, what the hell? Okay, that's because I have to label it. Okay, it's going to go off the labels. So if I go back to add labels, go back to alignment, and go to segment, select Madison, and we have 1 label out there. Okay, hit OK. Remember, I have 1 label. Okay, I have 2. I have the curve. I did the curve. There's my line L1 and C1, radius, whatnot. It's because I added labeling. The minute I did that, though, these changed to C1 and L1. There's a feature in every label style when it comes to alignments, parcels, and profiles that has what's called tag mode. This is what's called a tag, okay? And it will flip to tag mode when you bring out this awesome table. So when you go tabling stuff, expect that. If you don't want it in tag mode, you can come back here, select it, and let's see if I can just text. I think you actually have to delete it out of the alignment table. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Let's see here. Select the table, right-click, go back into table properties. And let's see, split force, realignment stat. No, there's not a way to do it. There used to be a way to do this. You could select there. Nope, that's not it either. You used to be able to delete one out of here and this would revert back. But just FYI, be careful when you cautionary tale when adding a table. Again, that works in parceling too. Once the labels are out there and then you go to add a table for like doing parcel table for doing curves and lines that are too long, right? They will convert to tag mode and you do the same thing. It'd be like add table, it'd be parcel, a segment would do both line and curve or line only, curve only. And as long as there's a label on that parcel, it will go into that table, okay? Okay, so we got an alignment. Now we need to talk about profiling. Profiling, once an alignment's been made, it's very simple. Number one, to profile, you need to have a surface in your file. We have the existing ground surface in our file. Yay. No surface to start, no profile ever is made. That is the rule of thumb. It has to have something to sample from just to get something created. You can't just say, I want to put a profile grid out there and draw my own. That don't work, ever. Even if you have the alignment made, it don't work, ever. You must sample a surface before you can go, now I can draw my own. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So on the Home tab of the ribbon, back up here under Create Design, the next one under Profile or under Alignment is Profile. So we have two options with Profile, Create Surface Profile, which we'll do, and Profile Creation Tools. Now, I will say this, Profile Creation Tools works identical to Alignment Creation Tools, but only inside the Profile view. So it has lines, it has curves, it has sub-entities. You could draw all you want to your heart's content. If your alignment stationing changes, your profile is independent of that alignment stationing that you do. If you made it from Creation Tools, it's independent. It stands on its own. So you moved 1,000 feet, your profile is still back here at the original stationing. You have to physically go grab it and move it, or go into the profile and edit the stationing to shift it over. Okay, don't expect it to slide left or right when you make your alignment stationing changes. Always make your alignment stationing changes before you profile, before you do everything that's profile related. But to get started with profile, you must have a surface, and you have to start with the first one in the drop-down, Create Surface Profile. When you have an alignment out there in this Create Surface Profile dialog, there are two things to note. You have to have an alignment, you have to have a surface, and you never hit OK. The only time you ever hit OK is when you're sampling additional surfaces after you've done the first surface sample. Never, ever hit OK. Okay, so let's start with Jordan. Grab existing ground. So from the alignment pull down, Jordan Court, existing ground under select surface, and click the add button. When you click the add button, everything at the bottom lights up. Before I hit any other button, I want to go through and look at my profile list. This is existing ground. It's going to be the first time it's sampled, so it's surface number 1. There is no offset. It is dynamic, so if existing ground changes, it will change in the profile. The style, let's take a look at the style. Currently, it's the existing ground profile. I'm going to click once on the style. The Pick Profile Style dialog appears. I'm going to grab that pull down, and I'm going to set this to EG-STARM. That's mine. There is a stationing from 1,000 to, that's how long it's going to sample, and you'll know real fast if your profile is going to fit your alignment or not. If this is shorter than your alignment, that you know is some 3,399 feet long, almost 4,000 feet long. If this says 1,000 to 2,000, yet you know my alignment is, then there's a problem. It's going to tell you minimum and maximum elevations along the surface that it already sees. Never hit OK. What I say earlier, never, ever hit OK, because if you do at this point, nothing will happen and you'll be like, what the? Where did it go? Never hit OK. No, what you hit here is draw in profile view. That is the next step in every alignment that you make. Very first time you make a profile, it's always draw in profile view. Get that? Sear it into your brain. Draw in profile view. Middle button, never OK. All right. This is the Create Profile View button. So we've sampled the profile now, or excuse me, sampled the alignment along the surface to create the profile, which we just did, but it has to have it somewhere to put it. It's not going to show it to you until you tell it what type of profile view you're going to put it in. They are two separate things. The profile is a line work based on the surface and the alignment stationing that you have. The profile view is the grid, okay? Stands on its own. It's its own entity. You'll find that out real fast. Okay, so this is the profile grid. If you sampled, whatever alignments are in here, whether they have been sampled or not, are available to select from. But when you go through this process, it always takes you to the one you just were in or that you just sampled. Okay, so Jordan Court. You can give it a name. Don't have to, but you can. And if your profile view for your grid is set up such, it will take this name and put it in there at the top. So whatever you name it will do that. Okay. It's going to go on a base object layer. That's fine. Never do I have more than one or two profiles in a sheet, and usually they're in their own viewport. I don't need to turn them off. Okay. So they can all be on the same layer. That's fine. The style, though, let's take a look at the styles. Now, I'm not real hip with what Civil3D sent us in our box of styles, and nobody else is, let's be honest. Every time you use one of their basic styles, you're like, ooh, that's ugly. That is not nice. It doesn't look good on a sheet. No, we've all gone through and spent some time and added styles or manipulated styles to make them look right, cool, and, well, what the cities and counties are used to seeing, okay? So for me, that's STARM full. Now, I have a reverse style because of a profile view. Right here's the reverse, okay? You can have it go from left to right or right to left. Right to left is reverse, meant for sanitary sewer, okay? All right, so full. Next, over here on the left, these are tabs, okay? Named tabs. I'm going to hit the next button, and I can automatically station my profile. That's the grid. It's going to do auto stationing, or, which I never do auto stationing, I could do this. Now, I select user specify because now I can shorten the grid or lengthen the grid. I might have a grid that's way too long to fit on one sheet. Maybe I can only see 600 feet of the profile or 1,000 feet of the profile. If that's the case, this ending number is not going to work. It's going to completely go off the sheet. I'm going to lose the right band where it says here's my elevations because it's too long. But you can make multiple grids and share, and in those multiple grids, have one and only one surface line in that same grid as you would in another. And I'll show you that in a second. So we're going to go with a full length right now, and I'm going to put it out to 4,000, okay? And I'm going to leave this at 1,000. That's absolutely fine to do. I'm going to hit next. Same thing in the datum side. Top, bottom, how tall does the grid need to be? Okay, I don't want to use automatic. I want to use user specified. Maybe I got to put a storm system at the bottom. So that means I really need to be lower than 171. I probably need to be in the 160 range. And generally speaking, we need about 30 to 40 feet in a profile. So let's go 200. Now, this is selected, then it will do this. And it will make multiple different, and it uses these specific view styles for each one of those, okay? I'm not doing a split profile. Don't need to. I realize there's 40 feet of room. I can, but I don't need to. Hit next. All right, this is the profile, not the grid, the profile line that we just sampled, that we just looked at. It's going to be the surface line. It's drawing. It's going to be clipped there. It is dynamic. We chose that one style change right there. If this was a proposed, I could change the labels here by clicking once in the box and choosing a label set, but no, I want no labels. Definitely want no labels on an existing profile because it samples it along the surface, and every time it crosses a tin line of that surface, you get a vertex in that profile, so it gets all jaggedy. And if you put labels between the little vertices, you could have 52 little vertices within a 5-foot area, and you have like 52 little labels. You'll be like, what? How do I get rid of the labels? Yeah, you should have chose no labels. Well, and you can go back and do that. You can go back and take the labels off real fast. Don't get me wrong. If you accidentally select the labels. And again, it repeats the information. There is no pipe or pressure network in this file, so none is selected. I'm going to hit next. Data bands. Your choice whether or not you really want a data band. Most of us don't use them. We use labeling along our profile line. I don't trust data bands. They're just kind of a pill to work with. They're like an extra band at the bottom. You can come back and delete it. You kind of get stuck with you must show a data band no matter what. So you just leave with whatever's here and we'll delete it afterwards. And hatching. Hatching works between two different profile lines, whether it's a sampled line from a surface or two lines that you designed, or a line you designed and a surface, or a surface that was lowered. And yeah, you get the idea? Okay, between the line work, it will put in the hatching for you automatically. You have to tell it what type of hatch, multiple boundary, whether it's going to be a fill or a cut. Let's say I was going to do fill. I would have to have two different profiles and designate what's the upper profile, what's lower, and then designate what shape style, which is found under settings, and the general, and the multi-purpose pull down, same shape styles that are shared with corridors. That's what you would choose. Okay, And I'm not going to do that, so I'm going to hit X to get rid of it. But after all of that is said and done, now we need to put the profile out here. I'm going to hit Create Profile View. I need to put the lower left corner of the profile somewhere in outer space. Now I get 4,000 feet of lovely profile. Awesome. This is the data band that nobody will use. This is my profile that was sampled from the surface. Look at that. I have a problem. There's nothing over here in the last 4,000 feet. Interesting. Yet I have surface over there. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyways, all right. And to get rid of the data band, select the profile grid, not the line work. Right click and go Profile View Property. Same thing you just went through on the wizard is now divided up into tabs. Starting on the Information tab, we have a name. We can change the object style of the view. If I do this real quick, I'm going to change it to full grid and hit apply. Ew! I'll change it to major grids and hit apply. Oh my gosh. See what I'm saying? I'm going to go back to Stormful and hit apply. Okay. Now, the next one is stations. I said to 4,000. Okay, I could go to 2,000. Actually, let's go 1,700 because I can see that right there. 1,700, hit apply. It shortened it. Ooh. Let's go back to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4,000. Okay. Elevations, up and down, 160 to 200, that's fine. Profiles, looking great. Bands, that's where I go. Bands. Select the band in the band box or in the box down here, list of bands, and hit the red X to get rid of it and hit apply. Ooh, they went away. Nice. And hatch control again is over here and hit OK. Now, so that was the properties of the profile grid. To move a profile, you do not grab everything with a pick button. I mean, don't do this. Okay? We're not selecting the world to move a profile. Profile movement is done by doing one thing. Select the grid one time. That's it. Don't do anything else. See this grip on the bottom left corner? Light that baby up. Move the profile with the grip. If you're good, you can use the move command, and again, select just the grid and move it. You can use the move command. Do not select the line work. If you do, it will copy it, and you'll have multiple copies of the same line work over and over and over and over. We don't do that. Matter of fact, let's do something. Let's copy the profile. C for copy. No, C for circle. C-O for copy, sorry. Select only the grid, and the grid only. Right-click, and let's copy it, and let's go straight up with it. All right, so now I have 2 profiles. Now I want to show you something. Over here in Tool Space, Alignments Collection, Center Line Alignments, we're on Jordan, and look at the little chevron that shows up. That means it's been active, it's got a profile, it's filled out, it's more than just an alignment. This is an alignment without a profile, nothing's been sampled, this has been sampled. Okay, it's got the little chevron, it's active, it's in use. Expand Jordan, we have 2 different sections, the profile, which is that guy, and the profile view, which is that guy. Okay, so the view is the grid. So if I go down here to profile, it's 1. This profile is the same here as it. Oh, look at that. They're both identical and they both selected. I only clicked once. That's what it's supposed to do. The reason behind this is I can go and have a big long profile just like this, and I can call this my master profile view, and I can do my entire design along here. This might need to be my sheet profile because it's too long for the sheet, right? So I'm going to select that specific profile view, the grid only. That's the only thing lit up. I'm going to right click and go into profile view properties, go back here to stations and shrink it to, let's see, 1,000. Let's go with 1,600 for the end. Sheet 1, copy, grab the grid, slide it to the left, or not the left, the right, place it, place it, place it, place it, right? 4 different copies. Do you see any more copies of the profile there on the left over on Tool Space? Still the same one. Now, how do I fix this? Every one of these are identical. They all are 1,000, 1,000, and 1,000. Okay. Select the profile view grid, right click, go into profile view properties. That was 1,600. Now we'll start at 1,600 and we'll add 600 to that. That would be 66, 2,200, and okay. Now watch it when you do this. Where did it go? To the right. It went way over here because it's actually walking down that grid, right? So I can grab it, grab the grid, drag it back Do the next one. Select 1000, profile view properties. It was 22, and 6 is 28. And that's going to go to the far right. Find my 28. There it is. There's my 22. Select it. Grab the grip. Drag it back. And we were at 28, right? Okay. Next one, select the grid, right-click, profile. See how this is routine now. 28. And 6 and 8 is 34. Yeah. Routine and yeah, that's right. 34 puts it way over here. And grab and drag it back. And then the last one is 34 to the end. 3,400 to 4,000. Now, I have grids everywhere. Beautiful. Looks great, right? Okay. So if I was going to do a design profile now, I have grids everywhere. It's kind of awfully set up. The first thing I might actually do is select the profile view line itself, and you have to do this for each little grid you did it in. To get the labeling on here, select it once, right click, edit labels. From my import label set, I'll grab the label button and I will call it EG, existing ground star. That's going to put my existing labels every 50 feet tied to the graph view bottom at a 0. And I'll hit OK. I have to do that for every one. Select, right click, and even though it lights it up every time, it's because it's view, profile view independent. Import label set, bottom, EG. So this is grabbing every 50 feet the existing ground elevation and throwing it down there. Okay. Again, edit labels, import label set, dump, 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 and dump, and dump. And again, select the label line, right click, edit labels, import label set, drop it down, existing, not finished, existing ground. Okay, okay. And should have, but I don't, more over here from 3,400, which makes me wonder what's going on with the surface. We'll deal with that later. Honestly. Okay. So that gets me quick profiles. To design a real design profile, profile creation tools, select the big one, the big grid, because that's where we're going to put it, give it a name, usually I grab it finished ground. It's a design profile. I want the complete label set, and I hit OK. And I get a profile layout tools toolbar, just like the alignment layout tools from the left to the right in the similar fashion, starting with the first button, go down to curve settings. And in this case, we're talking about profiling, so we have K values and L and K values, right? Crest Ks are usually 26, crest sags are usually 11, somewhere in that zone. Grab that first button again, go draw tangents and tangents with curve. Remember, I grabbed this grid, I didn't grab this one. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to put in a profile finished ground. Sorry. I thought that's the one I grabbed. There it goes. Okay. I'm going to turn off my F8 so you can see this. I picked once, I've started my profile line. I'm going to just kind of pick along here. I'm going to have fun to get something out here because we need something for cross-sectioning. That way you can see how this works. Notice what's showing up below. You see that? Ooh. Ooh, the same one. So if I make changes up here to the overall design, like this, grab the right one, it changes down there. Oh, concept. Yeah, I only have to do the design in the master, and then it will reflect appropriately down here. On the other hand, if I want to label it like I did down here, I have to select it in each little grid, right-click, go into Edit Labels, and say, okay, we're missing a label. We have lines, we have grade breaks, wait, we're missing something. Go to my import, go to FG, hit OK. The existing pavement center line. To get those labels. It'll keep the remainder on here. And it converts it. So select it, right-click, edit labels, go to import label set, go to the pull-down, finish ground star, hit OK, hit OK. Now we got to do this a few more times, and then we'll go into cross-sections. Edit labels, import, FG star, hit OK, hit OK. Grab the profile, edit, not geometry. If you need to edit this profile and you closed out of this dialog, you would select the profile, right-click, and go Edit Profile Geometry, and it shows right back up. Same toolbar. Anyways, edit labels, import, FG, star. And select the profile, right-click, edit labels, FG, star. Okay, fully labeled. All right, so, and over here in tool space, we got our one loaner finish ground profile. No, I usually don't leave my labels up here hanging out. Matter of fact, I wouldn't accept something like this. Labels can be moved with the diamonds, okay, up and down. These are curve labels. This is a line label. It cannot be moved. This is a grade break label, okay? And yeah, I wouldn't. I notice that when I shrink stuff down sometimes. Nope, those ones don't. Yep. It's usually, however it was set up. You can go under. So it's very dynamic in that respect. Something else to note about profile views, when you select a profile view, you go and right-click and go into the style. Okay, the profile view has an information tab, the name of it. The graph, which is based on a derivative of the scale, basically horizontal over vertical. I'm on a 30, so it's 30 over 4. If I change my drawing scale to, say, 20, everything changes because it's dynamic. Select it, right-click, edit profile view style, and now I'm at 20 and 5. Okay, I can also force it to be a specific scale, but it does this math right here. So you have to understand that. Again, drawing left to right, right to left. That's reverse direction, forward direction. Clipping of the grid. Titling annotation. That's the title stuff, this little title stuff. Show you real quick. That title stuff. That's title. Select, right click, edit profile. They're all the same style. So if they all share the same style, when I make a change to one style, they will all adapt. Okay. Horizontal axis, 50 and 5 on the bottom, 50, 25 and 5 on the top. Vertical axis on the left is 50 and 1. On the right, 50 and 1. And these are the other attributes. Display, we have a title. Left axis, if this title was on the left, it would be left. Annotation major, annotation minor, tick, the blue line, tick, that's not shown. Bottom axis, let's see, we did annotation major, grid, vertical grid, okay, horizontal grid, vertical grid, that's this stuff in here. You can turn on the geometry points. Every time there's a curve, it will do that. That's where the curve starts. That's where the curve ends. PCPT stuff. All right. So that's pretty much there. If we wanted to, let's see here. Profile styles, quick view. If you decide you need to see something in a quick profile view, I can select, let me see here, right click. Does it on this? I don't think it does it on these. You have to have a feature line or a, nope, doesn't do it there either. Yeah, well, if you have a feature line out here, I'll just draw one. Create a feature line from an object, thing, and just go with it and assign and existing ground. Okay, here's my feature line. Just drew in real quick. If I right click on it and I go to quick profile, and I think I showed this the other day, but we'll go ahead and show it again. So this is a quick profile stuff. This little title select all at 50 right, title left, annotation major, annotation minor, tick, the blue line, tick, that's not shown. Bottom axis, let's see, we did annotation major, grid, vertical grid, okay, horizontal grid, vertical grid, that's this stuff in here. You can turn on the geometry points. Every time there's a curve, it will do that. That's where the curve starts. That's where the curve ends. PCPT stuff. All right. So that's pretty much there. If we wanted to, let's see here. Profile styles, quick view. If you decide you need to see something in a quick profile view, I can select, let me see here, right click. Does it on this? I don't think it does it on these. You have to have a feature line or a, nope, doesn't do it there either. Yeah, well, if you have a feature line out here, I'll just draw one. Create a feature line from an object, thing, and just go with it and assign and existing ground. Okay, here's my feature line. Just drew in real quick. If I right click on it, Does it on this? I don't think it does it on these. You have to have a feature line or a, nope, doesn't do it there either. Yeah, well, if you have a feature line out here, I'll just draw one. Create a feature line from an object, thing, and just go with it and assign and existing ground. Okay, here's my feature line. Just drew in real quick. If I right click on it and I go to quick profile, and I think I showed this the other day, but we'll go ahead and show it again. So this is a quick profile. I have to select a style. What type of style is it going to look like inside the profile? Hit OK. Find a place to draw it. And it reminds you up here, this is a temporary profile, and they will be deleted on save or exit. When I hit save, this will go away, but that's the profile of that feature line. Okay. So that's the quick profile. Just as a reminder, if I regen, it stays. But the minute I hit save, it goes. Bye-bye. So now that we have profiles, maybe we need to cross-section something. And like I said before, if you don't have a profile on the land and they want a cross-section, use an alignment and a profile. Simple. Don't have to go any more than that, especially if they're like, well, I just want 3. Well, then make one alignment line and then copy it and change the name. Because every time you make a copy, it puts a parenthesis 1 over it. Okay. So like I could do this. I could say, this is my, let's say that's my cross-section I want. Alignment, create it from a polyline, select it, looks good, sounds right, cross 1, right? Turn that off, erase it, sure, looks good. Okay, it's there, and here it is, cross 1. So now if I copy, CO, grab it, and they say, I want it like 2 more, right here and right there. Cross 1, 1, cross 1, 1, 2. So now I need to go into them. I can go in. Just as a reminder, if I regen, it stays. But the minute I hit save, it goes. Bye-bye. So now that we have profiles, maybe we need to cross-section something. And like I said before, if you don't have a profile on the land and they want a cross-section, use an alignment and a profile. Simple. Don't have to go any more than that, especially if they're like, well, I just want 3. Well, then make one alignment line and then copy it and change the name. Because every time you make a copy, it puts a parenthesis 1 over it. Okay, so like I could do this. I could say, this is my, let's say that's my cross-section I want. Alignment, create it from a polyline, select it, looks good, sounds right, cross it and change the name. Because every time you make a copy, it puts a parenthesis 1 over it. Okay, so like I could do this. I could say, this is my, let's say that's my cross-section I want. Alignment, create it from a polyline, select it, looks good, sounds right, cross 1, right? Turn that off, erase it, sure, looks good. Okay, it's there, and here it is, cross 1. So now if I copy, CO, grab it, and they say, I want it like 2 more, right here and right there. Cross 1, 1, cross 1, 1, 2. So now I need to go into them. I can go into them from the tool space, or I can select them here either way, right click, go to the properties, go to the name and say cross 2, change it, and right click in the tool space, go to properties, cross 3, change it, then sample those just like we did up here on profile, and do create profile from surface and kick out one of these because they're really long cross sections. But that's one way to quickly cross-section something without using actual cross-sections, because in order to use actual cross-sections, you must have an alignment, okay? And now that we have several alignments, we can cross-section. So let's say I go ahead and I cross-section Jordan Court. Cross-sections are stored with the alignment. If I look at the alignment in the tool space and I expand its name, under here is what's called sample line groups. The first thing you have to do is apply sample lines, and it will attach that group of sample lines to Jordan Court. And the sample lines will be sampling along the alignment perpendicular, a set width, a set distance that you tell it, whether it's 25, 35, 50 feet, whatever, okay? That's the sample line width. And then you'll make a sample line group. And then you have to tell it from there to create the section views. And that's how you get the cross sections out. So to do the cross sections, Because it is a sample line, notice it's not even in here. Do you even see the word sample line? No, they're over here, profile and section views. It'll drive you nuts. It should be over here, but it's over here. Home tab, profile and section views. So we're going to start off with sample lines. And the first thing you have to do is select an alignment. And let's select Jordan Court because it's big. And we got to give our section line collection a name. And yes, it brings up 2 different tool space, 2 different toolbars. I can't even get to that one until I finish this one. This is sample 1. What's the style of the line going to look like? I'll leave it on the road. What is the style name going to be? A lot of people do stationing, and they'll change this up to say stationing, and that stationing will match the stationing of the alignment, which is absolutely fine. Makes it much easier, but for right now, we'll go section name. If there were more than one surface in here, you could choose which surfaces to sample along, but you have to have at least one. So we're going to go with the existing ground. It's going to be the existing ground style, and it's going to put it on the C road CTN layer or section layer, and it's dynamic. So if existing ground were to change, the sample would automatically update. I'm going to hit OK. That's the starting of it. Now I'm going to grab my handy dandy toolbar that looks like what the world is. Yeah. Okay. It should just be blank up here. It's taking a copy of what's going on up here. Love that video card. Yes, I do. Okay. So on my toolbar, usually you work right to left, but instead all we have to do is come over here to the furthest button on the right, or the first button on the left, if you're looking at it in that respect. Actually, no, it's the first button on the right, last button on the left. Anyways, when you grab that pull down, it has options for by range of stations, at a specific station, from a corridor, pick on screen, or select existing. We're going to go by range of stations. If I choose add a station, then there's just one. And wherever I pick, that's it. But if I go by a range, it'll go down the entire thing by a range. Okay, so here's Jordan Court. We are going to station range starting from the alignment to the alignment end, true. How big of a sample width? Let's say I'm going to do a 60-foot wide road, which that means I need a width of 40 feet each side, because it's 30 plus 10 to give me a little bit of room, 60 feet plus an additional 10. So you divide it by 2 and add some. Do you want it to snap to an alignment? Usually I say true. That way it stays on the alignment. You can say false, and then it says, well, how far between them? 50 feet. Sampling increment. So every how many feet should I place a cross section down this alignment? We could do increment. A lot of people, they do 25, some do 50, but 25. Do you want it to sample at curves at 25? And if we had spirals at 25. So that'd be every 25 feet, it's going to put a section line. At range start, true. At range end, true. At horizontal geometry is true. I don't have any supers. All right, hit OK. Bing, done. They're out there. Hit enter one more time. You get all the stationing. Oh, ain't that just beautiful? If I select one, you can move them up and down with the diamond. You can extend it in the same bearing direction with the triangle at the end, or I can change direction by grabbing the box at the very end of each line. Okay, so they are movable. You're not stuck with it what initially laid out there. Now that I have those out there, let's find a spot out here in outer space away from all of our profiles. Let's go back up to the ribbon, to the Home tab, to the Profile and Section Views tab, Section Views pull down, and let's create multiple views. This is all of them at once, not just 1 or 2. Jordan Court, sample line group number 1. We're going to go from 1,000 to 4. Road section. We're going to do, let's go road section on the section view style down here. Hit next. The template is pulling from, I got to go this way, see where it's pulling from. Okay, C drive. Some guys will go through their own, they'll make their own template, which is absolutely fine to do, and you would change that right here at this button. But we're going to go with what they've got. It's a group plot setup. We can do plot by page or plot all. We'll do plot all, hit next. It knows to go -40 and 50. Okay, auto height, yes. No labels, we don't want labels. Existing, draw it, yes. Fine, we'll do data bands, we have no choice. Hit create sections, find a spot away to the far right, and click left. This would be the bottom left corner. These are your sections, if you can see them. There it is. So that white line, that's your existing ground. This is the grid. It's clipped. This is being controlled by the style. If I right-click on one of them and go into the edit section view style, and I go to the grid and I turn off the clipping completely and hit OK. All of them will change. Let's do one other thing. Let's select one of the existing ground lines, right click, edit the section style, because this is the section, not the section view. Let's take a look at display. Let's change the segments to the color of red. Hit OK, and now you can see them better. So that way they kind of show up a little bit better so you can see what's going on. So this is like the profile. The section view has its own grid, the section view, and then this line representing existing ground is the section itself, okay? Two separate things. You can move these by grabbing any part of the grid and just moving it, okay? This is like the paper example, and I will say in sections you can draw plain line work in here, and when you move the grid, the plain line work will move with the grid. That's one of the newer features in like 2020, 2018, was to be able to keep any line work and text that was drawn within the boundary of the grid, on the grid, and moving with the grid. So that's sections, and they can be labeled like annotate, add labels, feature, go to section view. They have grade options, offset elevations, and projections. So there's 3 to 4 different types of labels which you can add to sections, which stick with them. And again, they are scalable. Now, I will say this, I'd never put sections in the same file as my profiles, because sometimes these have to be at a 1 to 5 scale to be properly viewed, whereas my profiles, that is not the case. I want them at 1 and 20, and getting them to be reflective is not cool. So that's where data shortcutting comes into play, which is the next series of lessons for Civil3D. How to get the surface out of here, how to get the alignment and profile out of here into a whole new file to where I can actually put in my section views, okay? With all of that said, we've actually made it through everything. I'm amazed at how quickly we went through everything. It's a miracle, right? So let me go back to PowerPoint, finish this up and wrap us up, because I did close that out, and get us wrapped up for the afternoon. So we were at class time, but this is the end of our session, the last session. Have any questions? Go check out Cattle Call. There's a good chance they'll answer them there. And lastly, if you have other questions, training questions, whatever, I'm more than happy up for sections today. Thank you all for joining, and I hope to hear from you guys soon.